There's a motion at the desk. The clerk will report the motion.
Pursuant to Rule 4.30, Lawrence moves that House File Number 3493 be recalled from the Committee on Education Finance, be given its second reading, and be placed on the General Register. Thank you.
I recognize the member from Sherburne, Representative Lawrence, to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, tonight's been interesting, heartfelt. We've had a lot of talk about tragedy, unimaginable heartbreak, unimaginable hurt. Been the focus of most of our discussion for the last almost 6 hours, and very much warranted. In fact, the bill that is before us right now has been referred to several times in the course of the discussion this evening. And House File 3493 is a bill that addresses something that numerous students have been left out of. And I'm not sure how many of you are aware of this, but numerous students in the state of Minnesota are left out of a state program that addresses exactly what we've been talking about tonight. Charter school students that go to charter school, they're left out of safe school aid. Non-public schools, been referenced tonight many times. They're left out of safe school aid. Tribal contract schools, left out of safe school aid. Given the conversation we've had tonight, I can't imagine why we would, as a group, as a body, would want these schools left out. And this bill I've proposed before committee, bring before you this evening, extends safe school revenue, which is currently available to school districts, okay, but it's not currently available to these entities here. This bill would make safe school revenue available to charter schools, non-public schools, and tribal contract schools. More importantly, it's not the schools that benefit, it's the students. It's the students that are ones that are going to benefit from this aid that would help make their education location safer. Safer for them, safer for the instructors that are there, the educators, the teachers, everybody that works there as well. This is an important bill that I think we can come together to tonight. You may ask, well, what does it cover? Right? Well, what is covered in this safe school aid? And it's been mentioned tonight that stuff we're talking about just hardens schools. Well, that's a part of it. Absolutely, that is a part of it. It pays the costs incurred for salaries, benefits, and transportation of peace officers, sheriffs. Pays the cost for drug abuse prevention programs. Important things, all things that are related to conversation tonight. Pays the cost for gang resistance education training and curriculum. Pays the cost for security in schools and on the school property. We talked about the hardening of schools. There it is right there. Pays the cost for other crime preventions, drug abuse for students and staff. Pays the cost for licensed school counselors, licensed school nurses, licensed school social workers, licensed school psychologists, and licensed alcohol and substance disorder counselors. We've talked a lot about mental health tonight. This bill helps address this for the left out students that aren't included in our budget. It helps pay for security enhancements, including, not limited to, but including laminated glass, public announcement systems, emergency communication devices, equipment, facilities. Pays for the costs associated with school climate. When we talk about mental health, we talk about teachers. Today in committee, we talked about teacher retention. Climate was one of those big things. School climate was one of those things that was brought up during that as well. It pays costs for collaborating with mental health professionals. Also pays the cost for cybersecurity measures as well. Are these things important to our schools? I happen to sit on education policy, education finance. All these things come up on a regular basis as important factors for our schools, but not for our schools, for our students. And as we heard in committee today, for instructors as well. I don't think any students in the state of Minnesota should be left out. That's why this bill is before you tonight. They shouldn't be left out. Our students that happen to be students in charter schools, they should have a safe place to study. Our students that are at non-public schools, they should have a safe place to study, to educate, to learn. And our tribal contract schools shouldn't be left out either. So I ask you to come alongside, to join me tonight, to extend safe school safety revenue to these three entities that have been excluded, to the students that are excluded in these programs. All students, all children, our charters, our non-public, our tribal contracts deserve to have this funding to help make their educational experience a safer, more rewarding program for them to go through.
Further discussion to the motion? I recognize a member from Hennepin, Representative Frazier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Lawrence, I appreciate your comments. I've been working in education for a long time, and I care deeply about our students. I care deeply about their safety. I care deeply about them having resources to make sure they have the best possible outcomes that they can, and that they can achieve the best that they want in their lives. My concern with this bill, with the motion to move it to the general register, is that as a co-chair of Ways and Means, and I would believe my co-chair would agree with me, there's a blank appropriation here. There's a blank appropriation, which means that we have no idea what this may cost, which means it absolutely needs to be vetted through the Ways and Means Committee. There is also no Senate companion to this bill, and my understanding is that there has not been a fiscal note requested for this bill, and also this bill was heard in your committee and laid over while your colleague from your side had the gavel. Madam Chair, I'm gonna ask for a roll call on this vote.
Roll call has been requested. Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. Representative Frazier.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'm gonna ask my colleagues to reject this motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Further discussion to the motion. I recognize a member from Morrison, Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Representative Lawrence, for bringing this motion before the body tonight. I think the real question here today, which pertains primarily to those kids who are in, whether it's elementary, intermediate, or high school, Madam Speaker, the real question for us tonight is, who is a Minnesota kid? Because I've been in this debate in the Higher Education Committee a couple times this session where I've been questioned as to what is a Minnesota kid? Because I've tried to draw a distinction between someone who has legal status and someone who does not. And here tonight, there's this distinction on this floor that somehow the kids who attend a non-public school don't deserve the same level of support, which is pretty outrageous considering the opportunity that we have before us to ensure that they're safe in the place where they're learning. It's especially shocking to me when there's been members on the other side of the aisle who have made the case that only $26 a year to go to fund financial aid for illegal immigrants should be okay when we can't provide $36 to the legal Minnesota citizens who go to non-public schools. That's all that this bill does. $36 per student to non-public schools to help keep them safe, to ensure that they have the same opportunities to learn in an environment that is safe, secure, and allows them to learn. That's what this bill is about tonight. I don't even personally know how many students that is across the state. So, Madam Speaker, I'd like to ask if Representative Lawrence would yield.
Representative Lawrence, will you yield for a question? Representative Lawrence will yield. Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Lawrence, considering the number of Minnesota kids across the entire state, I'm curious as to how many Minnesota students attend non-public schools, and if you can provide a range for us tonight.
Representative Lawrence.
Madam Chair, thank you, or Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Representative Schultz, it's a round number, you said around, but about 70 non-public and 70,000 non-public and 70,000 charter students.
Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So what I heard is that there is roughly between the two, between charter and non-public schools, roughly 140,000 students that this impacts. 140,000 kids that we can protect with this bill tonight. 140,000 kids in every corner of this state who can benefit from being secure in their learning. Minnesota kids, every single one of them, Minnesota kids. And yet somehow, in the eyes of the political left here in this body, they don't deserve the same protection under law.
I recognize the member from Goodhue, Representative Altendorf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And members, as we continue to go on tonight and use these to get our political points that no doubt in 2026 will go out on campaign materials, that is what tonight is all about. So for any Minnesotans that thought we were going to get things done, this really is about getting those political talking points. Again, I rise because I think Minnesotans want solutions, and also we are very broken and we want healing. And how we get to healing is through light and through truth. Evil loves to lurk in the darkness. Earlier, it was insinuated that Republicans are hopeless and we don't have hope for our future, and I could not disagree with that more. The problem is, in Minnesota, is that the Republicans come forth with good ideas that are continually voted down or not allowed to come out of the committees. That's not given the light. And right now, we just heard from Representative Frazier that he would like to stop this bill by a fiscal note. Well, when we were just discussing these gun bans, I don't remember talking about what that fiscal note would be to the state of Minnesota to go around the entire state and to confiscate every lawful owner's guns. That has to have a fiscal note as well. This just seems to only go one way here in Minnesota. Leader Jamie Long brought up earlier when he wanted one of the Republicans to cross over and to vote against the legal gun owners and to ban their guns. Representative Long gave examples of when we worked together, and every one of those examples was a Democrat initiative. Every one of them. So when I go door knocking, door to door, one of the most common things I hear people say at the doors, because there is a lot of moderates in Minnesota, there is a lot of independents in Minnesota, and there is a lot of common sense Democrats in Minnesota who would like us to get along and actually be productive here in this House. And what I hear them say is, we would like to see you work together. But frankly, ever since I was elected in 2022, and this is my 4th year of serving, I have not seen that. The Minnesota Democrats have had the complete trifecta the first 2 years. Now we've been tied. And what you can see is bill after bill after bill, Republican initiatives are getting stopped in the committees and are not giving the ability to come forth, to have honest debates, to try to get these good bills across the finish line. So thank you, Representative Lawrence. Thank you for bringing a solution. Thank you, Representative Duran. Thank you to all the people that are trying to do good work, but the Minnesota Democrats refuse. I know the Minnesotans are really tired of this and the manipulation. The hypocrisy of, again, trying to stop this bill on a fiscal note, but theirs, they ignore it. The hypocrisy, going back to 2023 and 2024, Representative Frazier was chief author of the red flag laws, gun laws, but he also was authoring bills that were reducing sentencing for violent criminals who committed murder. So members, we would like to get things done here in Minnesota, but right now it seems to be only one way or no way. It's the Democrat way or no way. So when people see the struggle that's happening on the House floor, and when I go door knocking and people say, we would like to see you work together, that's what Minnesotans want. When we want to protect our children, we have to be open to all ideas. And yet what I saw on this floor, as soon as Representative Warwas brought up the manifesto of the words of the Annunciation shooter.
Point of parliamentary inquiry, Speaker.
State your point of parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you. What order of business are we on?
Members, we are on the order of business of recalling and placing on the general register House File 3493. Representative Altendorf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you so much. Again, Minnesotans and to the families of Annunciation, we want to help bring healing. We want to help bring solutions, but that's going to require honest conversations. And as you'll see, when we bring up other motives of what might have happened, what caused that shooting, the horrific shooting, whether it's mental illness, and when we're quoting the words from the manifesto, we cannot talk about that. They are trying to prevent the light shining on what were the real reasons behind this. And that's wrong, members. The only discussion should not be banning guns. It should be considering Representative Lawrence's bill for safe schools. Also in the manifesto, in their own words, it said that they wanted to target a school because, and I quote, they thought it would be least likely that a good guy had a gun. Members, we need to have these discussions. You can call me out of order, and it doesn't change that if we don't have tough discussions on this floor, we are never going to be able to change what's happening here in Minnesota. Maybe instead of outside of the school where it says we ban guns on this premises, it should say we protect our children in this school. What if the sign said, there is someone here armed? That would be a deterrent, folks. That would be a deterrent, but for some reason we can't have that conversation because it's not achieving the Democrats' goals to ban every legal gun in the state of Minnesota. So again, thank you, Representative Lawrence. Let's vote yes.
I recognize a member from Anoka, Representative Niska.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. You know, I think we've had a long discussion. I think everyone in this chamber can agree that every student in Minnesota schools should be safe. That's the sentiment I've certainly heard. And that should be true no matter where their parents choose to send them to school. It should be true whether their parents decide that the best choice for their child is a public school, and it should be true if their parents decide that the best choice for their kid is a charter school. It should be the case if their parents decide the best thing for them is a private secular school. It should be true if their parents decide the best choice for their kid is a religious school. Kids don't choose where they go to school. And every kid deserves to be safe, no matter what choice their parents make about what school they go to. So we should light up the board green. But it's going to require a little political courage. You might have to say no to a big union. You might have to tell the governor who demands that all non-public pupil aid be cut, you might have to tell him to stuff it. That you're going to stand up for every student to be safe in their school, no matter where their parents choose to send them to school. That's what you're voting for if you vote green, members. Every student deserves to be safe. It doesn't matter what school. If you think it does matter, if you think some kids should be punished because their parents chose a school you don't want them to send them to, then vote no. But if you think every student in Minnesota deserves to be safe, vote green.
Any further discussion? Representative Lawrence.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for the discussion tonight. This is an important issue. Representative Frazier, I appreciate your commitment to fiscal responsibility and being accountable for the dollars we spend and the fiscal note that would go with this. But I'll be honest with you, I was moved, and I may get the terminology wrong here, but I was moved by Representative Pinto's comment that he said there's no price tag for keeping our kids safe. And tonight I agree with that. Tonight I agree in the fact that tonight is a night that this needs to be a priority. We're going to be going into a week where we're not going to see each other. We're not going to be back in session for a full week. And amen. And let's leave tonight. I don't know, I assume I'm the last one. Maybe I'm not. Let's leave tonight on a positive note. Let's pass a piece of legislation that benefits students. Let's pass a piece of legislation that benefits every one of our districts with putting money into safe schools. We've talked a lot about different things tonight. Let's pass something that we can accomplish and go home with tonight. This is a good thing. This is a good thing for the students of Minnesota. Please make this a priority tonight. Let's put it on the general registry. Let's be bold. Let's be bold. Let's step out. Let's vote for all students this evening. Every single one in the state of Minnesota. Let's support them and say, we believe they should be safe in their educational environment. And let's send this message home tonight with them. Please vote green.
Members, as a reminder, the House is under call. You must vote. The clerk will take the roll. Members, please take your conversations to the alcoves. The clerk will call the names of the members participating remotely.
Jones.
Jones, no.
Jones votes no. Rarick.
Rarick votes aye.
Rarick votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 67 ayes and 67 nays, the motion does not prevail.